Welcome. The Hills Have Eyes was released in 2006 and was directed by Alexandre Aja. It stars Aaron Stanford and is about a family that is traveling through New Mexico and is attacked by a group of cannibals. So this review has been in the making for a while. It was originally suggested by Andrew on the Wheel of Horror, and I couldn't review it because I had to pay for it, and I didn't want to pay for it. So, here it is. We're finally reviewing it, which I'm very excited about it since this was the first ever horror movie that I watched in entirety. It was on TNT, and it was on Thanksgiving. So, I really don't see a correlation of this movie being released on Thanksgiving or like being shown on Thanksgiving, but it was, and that's where I watched it. And let me tell you, the TV version of this is a lot more tame than the original. So as you all probably already know, this is a remake of the 1977 film The Hills Have Eyes, which was directed by Wes Craven, who's known for Scream, A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Last House on the Left. And a lot of people found this film disgusting and repulsive. And so it was remade to be made more disgusting and repulsive. So the question is, was this worth the big wait for me to rewatch this movie and review it for the channel? And the answer to that is, not really. I didn't really enjoy it the second time I watched it. I remember it being a little bit better than what it was. I think the reason I kind of think that is that was really the first horror movie I watched in general, so everything seemed so fresh and new to me. But now watching so many different horror movies, I could just see how many different things were stolen, how many tropes were in this movie, and it just really took away from the experience for me, since I was seeing the same things that I've seen in every horror film in the early 2000s, and I'm going to talk about that later in the cons. But let me get into some of the pros with this movie, with the first one being the makeup. It is phenomenal. I mean, I feel really bad for the actors who had to portray this cannibalistic family, because they probably spent hours with makeup, because there is so much that is on their face, because they have to be like kind of mutated, since there's a whole entire thing about radioactive waste and nuclear bombings. That's like a little tiny subplot. But yeah, it is spectacular, the makeup in this film, and I was thoroughly shocked every time I would see this new cannibal and see the makeup effects that they had done on them. Another pro that I do have with this movie is part of the writing. They do a great job of subverting your expectations of who you think is going to die, when, where. And I really like that, because at first I thought I was going to guess some of the people who would die, and it kind of not backfired, but went the complete opposite direction, which I really enjoyed. The last big pro with this movie is the blood and gore. It is gory as heck and disgusting, but it is very enjoyable. And I really don't want to say other than that, because I don't even want to spoil any ways that blood comes out of people and how they die and stuff like that. You have to experience that on your own. So in terms of cons, the biggest one that I had was how much it steals from other horror movies. And, you know, it's a remake of the original Hills of Eyes, so of course, you know, they're going to be stealing a lot from the original. But they steal a lot from Wrong Turn, with one specific scene being a bunch of cars abandoned. And they do the same thing in Wrong Turn, but it's so much better. It's a lot creepier. You're a lot more scared. And this one, it just felt like a rehashing of that movie, but just a lot worse. And another movie that it does steal from is Saw. And in Saw, there's a lot of shots where they'll quickly speed up everything. And I don't know why it became a trend for the next few years to do that, but The Hills Have Eyes does it many times, and it gets very annoying after the first time. The last con I have with this movie is the cheesy ending. It was super cheesy. It was kind of cool how it was ending. I was like, oh, okay, like, this is nice. And then just cheese. And I was like, oh, come on. Like, that was actually the final nail in the coffin. Kind of like Unfriended. But overall, I'm going to give this film a 6 out of 10. and I recommend it if you're into that torture porn subgenre. It isn't a bad movie, and I just don't particularly like the torture porn subgenre, so that's why I don't enjoy it as much. So thank you everyone for watching, and leave a comment if there's any other movies you would like me to watch. But let's flash forward to the next review.